Hi everybody, it's Kyle. Hey, today I want to share with you something that happened at church on Sunday. Um, so we have some very specific unbreakable rules in our home, and we're pretty lax about a lot of things, but some things are just going to happen whether our kids like it or not. And one of those things is we go to church as a family. As you know, we have two kids, two sons that are on the spectrum, and they are 17 and 14 years old. Our 14-year-old is pretty easygoing, happy to go, usually doesn't give us too much of a problem. Our 17-year-old, on the other hand, is not happy to go to church right now. And, well, he's never really happy to go to church, but he's being a little bit more defiant right now than he has in the past. And so something happened on Sunday that kind of got my attention and got me to thinking a little bit. And that was this. My 17-year-old, when we go to church, we sometimes take two cars because my wife and I split up, and I can go a little early and make sure we get some seats in the very back so we don't offend or annoy too many people in the congregation. And then my wife brings my 17-year-old, who typically drags his feet, doesn't want to get dressed, plays a lot of these games, but my wife, well, both of us are just very patient, and we just stay kind of right on top of him until he puts his clothes on and hops in the car. And we have some things we do at church for him that keep him happy. And, you know, some of those things are like we have little things he can fiddle with his hands, clay, or little race cars or little Bionicles, things that don't make any noise that he can play with in his lap and keep his mind occupied and keep him busy. The other things we do is we bribe him with some small amount of candy or maybe a stick of chewing gum to get him to comply. And it's almost become a standard now for us. He, at certain times and as things change around, he expects these little pieces of bribery is what we'll call them. And we're okay with that because we want him there, and we want to make him as comfortable as we can while he's there. But recently he's been doing something that he does periodically once a year or so, and that's this. He'll refuse to get up from where he's at and move to the next class or go to his class or go to class with me. And that's usually what happens. He either goes to his own class and I go with him, or he'll go to my class with me. And if I'm teaching something, he'll come to that. So he's kind of always by my side at church. But recently what he started doing is he started to ask me if he can go use the restroom in his own broken English way, and he won't come back. And I'll go out looking for him, and I'll find him in the lobby sitting in a chair. And so I can't really force him to come back into class, although that's where I want him. And so I'll just stand there and patiently say, "Are you ready now? Hey, if you come back, I'll give you a lifesaver," or, you know, I've got to use different methods to get him back in class. And now he started to do that pretty regularly. And so I'm pretty regularly in the hall, because he'll just stand up and walk out. He won't even ask. And I'll just follow him out and sit down next to him and kindly talk him into coming back into class. And usually it takes 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes he'll go and come 10 times in an hour. And there are people that see that. And so he was doing that this past Sunday. And I kept going out, bringing him back in, kept going out, bringing him back in. And afterwards, after church was over, a gentleman approached me. And the people at church are really kind to our family and to our kids. And they know what the situation is. And so he said, "Doesn't it ever frustrate you that he just walks out like that?" And, you know, I said, of course it does. I'd like him to stay in here, but, you know, he's going through a phase where he wants to walk out and doesn't want to be in class. And so, you know, it's my job to keep him in class and make him as comfortable as I can have him while he's in there. And he said to me, "Well, I don't know how you keep from getting frustrated." He said, "Because I watched you, and you would go out and just sit down with him and kindly talk to him pat his leg and put your arm around him. And he said, I think I heard you say I love you to him a couple times too. And I said, well, that's my methodology. You know, I want him to be in class with me. I don't want to come to church and just sit in the hall. And I don't want him to come to church and just sit in the hall by himself. That doesn't seem like a very appropriate thing to do at church. And the other thing that I realized is that it doesn't seem like a very appropriate thing to do at church to be mad at my son because of the things that go through his mind or his difficulties or the way he's trying to express himself. So, you know, it got me thinking about that a little bit. And he actually told me, he said, if it was my kid, I don't know what I'd do. I'd just be so frustrated. I said, well, would you give up? Would you just let him sit there? He said, well, I wouldn't want to do that. I said, okay, well, would you scream at him? He said, well, I guess I wouldn't want to do that. I said, okay, well, then you would do exactly what I'm doing, which is I want him in class. And I know if I scream at him or yell at him or get frustrated, that's just going to make the problem worse. And if I give up, he'll just go outside and sit in the hall during church, and I'll never see him in class again. And that's not really what I want. So the truth is, you'll do exactly what I did. And I think we all understand that, don't we? We do what we have to do. We're not going to give up. But we certainly have certain rules and regulations that we want followed because we know it's what's best for our families and for our children. So my message for you today is this. Decide what you want. Be patient, be kind, never give up. He'll start coming to class again. And he'll sit with me for the amount of time that he needs to sit with me. I know that's going to happen. And so until he does, I'm going to be as patient as possible. And I'm going to let him know I love him throughout the process. So I challenge you to do that too, no matter what it is. And have a great day. Bye-bye.